All right.
Okay, and then we can just edit out whatever we need to, but
Absolutely.
okay. Well, hello class. Looks like just one of us showed up today. We're gonna start off by watching a short movie clip from the 1957 film 12 Angry Men.
We're ta-
Lemonade is changing in Sheriff.
Found another knife blanket. What's that? The discovery of the age or something?
You mean you're asking us to believe that somebody else did the stabbing with exactly the same kind of knife?
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1. It's possible, but not very probable.
Okay, fellas, let's take our seats. There's no point standing around all over the place.
Yes.
No, it's interesting that he'd find a knife exactly like the one the boy bought.
What's interesting about it? Interesting.
Oh, I just thought it was interesting.
There are still 11 of us here who think he's guilty.
Right. What do you think you're going to accomplish? You're not going to change anybody's mind. So if you want to be stubborn and hang this jury, go ahead. The kid will be tried again and found guilty as sure as he's born.
Probably right.
All right. So what we have just witnessed was a great example of a defensive climate, which actually brings me to what we're going to be talking about today, um, defensive versus supportive climates. So when we work in the group setting, we're either cultivating a defensive climate or a supportive one. And today I'm going to summarize kind of what that looks like, what all the key elements of a defensive versus supportive climate are. And then my student Malachi will also be covering some other elements. But let's go ahead and get started by just kind of defining what a defensive climate is and what it looks like. So, when we have a defensive group climate, it's usually really counterproductive, and our group members are focused excessively on how they can win and how they're perceived rather than focusing on how they can support each other. And we also spend less time building connections with each other. So we miss out on all those relationships that we can build when we're in the group setting. And um, it's just all around not a very good environment. And it's not what we want. We want to have a supportive environment when we're working in the group setting. So let's take a look at what a supportive climate looks like. So when we have a supportive climate, we're more focused on the group rather than our own self-protection. We're not always on guard. We're not always ready to attack each other. We are looking out for each other. And this type of climate also increases productivity. As stated in the textbook, Communicating Small Groups Principles and Practices, social psychologist Jack Gibb has done some research that has suggested supportive climates actually increase productivity and they even minimize stress and burnout within the workplace, which is exactly what we want. And of course, a supportive climate also allows us to build those better connections amongst our group members. All right. The first element that I'm going to be talking about is evaluative statements versus descriptive language. So, when we're talking to each other in the group setting, we always want to make sure we are talking to each other with respect and kindness. When we use evaluative statements, this is usually those you statements like, you don't know what you're doing, or you always get this wrong. And these kind of statements are harmful and they usually provoke defensiveness in each other. And we definitely don't want that. So instead, we should use descriptive language. Now, when we use descriptive language, this usually is statements that start with I as opposed to you. So it's acknowledging that we understand what that other person is saying. I don't quite understand. Could you clarify? Or I see that you're struggling. Do you need some help? These kind of statements build trust and cohesiveness in the group, which is, of course, always what we want in the group setting. All right, now let's do a little activity. So let's see if you can identify whether the following statements are evaluative or descriptive. So, number one, you never fail to mess this type of stuff up. Do we think this is evaluative or descriptive?
Um, Evaluative.
All right, let's see if you're right. That is correct.
Let's
The answer
go.
is evaluative. This statement, you never fail to mess this type of stuff up, uses you language and it reduces the comment to the worth of that person and their ideas, which is really disrespectful. Let's try another one. Number two, I can see you may be struggling. Is there anything I can do to help? Do we think this is evaluative or descriptive?
Hmm. I'm gonna say evaluative on this one as well.
Okay, let's see.
Ah, dang it.
This one is actually descriptive. So it uses, like I said before, it uses I statements. Like, I can see you may be struggling. Is there anything I can do to help? And it validates our speaker and it describes their thoughts. Good try, though.
Thank you.
All right. Number three, I disagree. Evaluative or descriptive?
Considering my last answer and the I statements, I'll say this one is descriptive.
See if you're right. That is correct. This one is descriptive. The statement, I disagree, simply states in a respectful manner that you don't quite agree with what the speaker is stating, but you're also not using harmful language to attack them. All right. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Now I'm going to talk about control versus problem orientation. So, when we're in the group setting, we want to avoid using controlling behavior and controlling language. This type of behavior can once again make our other group members defensive. It also usually utilizes persuasive tactics, which we don't want to be persuading our group members to be doing anything. It also bases these comments are usually based off of assumptions, which is wrong. We shouldn't be assuming things about our other group members. Instead, we should use problem solving behavior. So, when we use problem solving behavior in the group setting, it shows that we're actively seeking solutions. And this also contributes to more productivity and, once again, cohesiveness within the group. We always want to show that we're looking for solutions and we're looking out for each other. We definitely don't want to take control over the situation. We want to make sure everybody's involved and we're all seeking the same goals and working towards the same solution. All right, let's do our next activity. So this one has two parts, but for part one, let's identify which out of the following statements imply problem orientation. Number one, since I know what's best, let's stop wasting time and get this project over with. Number two, I can't believe you're still discussing this. The solution is so obvious. Number three, how about we take some time to self reflect and then when we're finished, we'll pick up where we left off. Number four, can you all just hurry up and decide so I can leave? Or number five, I am the leader of this group, so you guys better complete my half of the assignment. Which one shows problem orientation?
I'm gonna say number one. Since I know what's best, let's stop wasting time and get this project over with.
Let's see if you're right.
I got
The
it wrong.
correct answer, the correct answer is actually number three. How about we take some time to self-reflect, and when we're finished, we'll pick up where we left off. This statement implies problem-oriented behavior as it clearly displays the goal of finding a solution in a non-controlling nature and ultimately cultivates a supportive tone. It was close though. That one was a little bit tricky.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, now for our second part. Try to identify which out of the following statements implies a control orientation. Number one, I think it would be beneficial for us all to do the research individually and review it as a group after we're done. Number two, let's discuss the propositions one by one in order to gain insight from everyone. Number three, we can start by evaluating this assessment and then share our thoughts. Number four, if we can rehearse the following scenarios, this could benefit us all. Or number five, just hurry up and figure it out already.
I think it's number 5 for sure. Just hurry it up and figure it out already.
I think that's a pretty good guess.
Oh, let's go. I got it.
Yeah. Good job, Malachi. That is correct. This statement expresses controlling behavior that can cause group members to become defensive and upset. This kind of statement also implies that we're impatient and we don't care to be supportive of our group members. So great job on that one.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, I'm going to talk about superiority versus equality. Now, when we're in the group setting, we definitely don't like being around those of us who have a superiority complex. We all want to be seen as equal amongst our team members. When we have a superiority complex in a group setting, this contributes to defensiveness. These are the kind of comments that will lead to those one-upping conversations. Well, I went here. Well, I did this, or I'm better than you. It kind of leads to that condescending nature that we really want to avoid when we're in the group setting. Instead, we want to cultivate equality within our group. Equality helps foster a supportive climate by establishing mutual respect for one another. And this way we can acknowledge and work with each other without needing to establish dominance. So we really don't need to establish dominance amongst any of our group members. Know that I'm not above you and you're not above me. All right. Now, Malachi, is this one yours?
Yes.
Yes. All right. My student, Malachi, is going to go ahead and take it over from here and talk about strategy versus spontaneity.
So starting off, after continuing with our previous 4 communication aspects and behaviors, we're going to talk about strategy. A strategic communication style occurs when someone communicates with hidden motives or personal agendas. Instead of being honest about what they're thinking, they're trying to manipulate the conversation to get a particular outcome. So this person is strategizing a way where they can benefit from this. So this is sort of a sly move. This is an aspect that can cause distrust between different people, and can really harm relationships for sure. Because if you're in a situation where somebody is trying to harbor information from you and they're just trying to get it in for their own benefit, then you're gonna build up walls and hide that person and try and kick them out. This can cause people to become suspicious of each other, and like I said previously, can ultimately harm a relationship. Now, on the opposite end, spontaneity is honest and genuine open communication between the two. So let's say it's between 2 partners in this scenario. In a strategic mindset, in a strategy communication behavior, let's say partner 1 is trying to get as much information they can from partner 2 because they think something is up with what's going on in the relationship. So they're curious, but they're also being selfish in how they're doing it. However, in a spontaneity aspect, they're both being open with each other, always having good, honest discussions, and in that way, they build up their relationship and ultimately bring themselves closer to each other. So this builds trust among group members. So out of the 2, I think I'd much rather choose spontaneity.
For sure.
And for our next one, we're going to be talking about neutrality versus empathy. Now, neutrality, it's indifferent. It's right in the middle zone. Let's say there's a war between country A and country B. Country A, they want all the resources. They're trying to get to country B. However, there's a neutral country right in between that doesn't care and that they're just trying to stay out of it as best they can. So in that way, they can seem cold. They're not open. They're not. They're not ready for any of the ideas country A or B has for them because they just want to stay out of it. This can make teammates feel unimportant. It can weaken relationships because they're just completely out of this. Now on the opposite end, we have empathy. Now empathy is a beautiful thing. It shows understanding, it shows patience, and it really makes you feel out for another person. So if there's somebody with an empathetic mindset and empathetic communication behavior, you're definitely going to be more open to them. You're going to be more trusting. In a group setting, it can encourage teamwork as well as building those strong lifelong relationships. So neutrality versus empathy, once again, I'd much rather choose empathy.
Yes, me too.
And for our next one, we're going to be talking about certainty versus provisionalism. Now, certainty is kind of stuck up in a way. It's only going to be sure about one solution. There's no other way around this. It's going to refuse other viewpoints. It's going to be stubborn, and it's going to say, I am for sure. This is the only way it can be done. There's only one correct answer, and I have that answer. Now, that can be, like I said, selfish. And so you're closing off your mind and also your world really to different ideas. And especially like think about someone who is in a debate with another person.
Mm-hmm.
If they're in a certainty mindset, they're not going to want to listen to the other person at all. That's a fallacy in itself. They're not going to be open to the opposing argument because they're too certain about what they believe. Now, on the other hand, we have provisionalism. Provisionalism is open-minded, willing to hear different ideas, encourages discussion, and promotes collaboration. Now going back to that debate sort of scenario, if we have somebody with a provisionalism mindset, they're going to be welcoming to new ideas. They're going to be willing to hear the other person out instead of shutting them down right away. They're going to be kind in their responses. They're not going to be starting arguments. They're going to have an educational discussion rather than a heated argument. So that's the real difference between certainty versus provisionalism. Is once again, certainty is they don't want to hear anything about what the other party has to say, but provisionalism welcomes what they have to say and willing to hear lots of different ideas. So we're going to go ahead and start activity 3 now. This is, wait, how do I go back? There we go. Activity 3, we're going to be examining which statement creates a supportive climate. Is it A, your idea won't work? Is it B, I'm right because I've done this before? Is it C, I understand your point, maybe we could combine your idea with mine? Or is it D, let's just hurry up and finish? So once again, we're trying to see which of these 4 statements it brings in a supportive, cohesive atmosphere. So which one do you think it is, Dora?
Well, your idea doesn't work. Your idea won't work. That could come off a little bit, maybe not the nicest.
For sure.
I'm right because I've done this before. As I was talking about earlier, it kind of has that condescending tone that we don't want. C, I understand your point. I'm kind of leaning towards that one because it acknowledges that, hey, I understand your point. Maybe let's combine your idea with mine. And that's a respectful tone. I like that one. D, let's just hurry up and finish. Sounds like we're impatient. We want to get it over with. We don't really care.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of leaning towards C.
Absolutely. Let's see if you're correct.
All right.
The answer is C.
Yes.
Congratulations, Dora. And the reason is this statement shows empathy, openness, and spontaneity while encouraging collaboration. So we got all four in one right there. Instead of dismissing another person's opinion, it builds on their idea and helps the group work toward a common goal.
Absolutely. Nice. Alrighty. So, wow, just to recap. We talked about quite a bit of stuff today. But the first thing we talked about was obviously the difference between a defensive and supportive climate and why it is so important that we always facilitate a supportive atmosphere when we're working as a group. Like I said, this can look a lot of different ways. The first thing we talked about was evaluative versus descriptive language. We always want to make sure we're using descriptive language and not evaluative language. So that means using those I statements as opposed to those you statements. This can come off as attacking and can provoke defensiveness with our group. And then I talked about control versus problem orientation. Now, we definitely want to avoid coming off as controlling to our group members, as I talked about. Want to avoid being persuasive and making assumptions. We always want to make sure we're problem oriented, so we show that we are actively looking for solutions that will benefit the entirety of the group. And then the next thing I talked about was superiority versus equality. So, like I said, we don't want to have a superiority complex when we're working as a group. We want to show our other group members that we are all equal and we're all there for each other. And no one is above one another. We are all the same and we're all working towards the same goals. And then Malachi talked about strategy versus spontaneity. We always want to make sure we're cultivating spontaneity over strategy. As Malachi was saying, we don't want to have hidden motives. We always want to come off as honest and genuine to our team members. And neutrality versus empathy as well. We always want to make sure we're showing an empathetic tone towards our teammates, showing that we genuinely care. We're there to build relationships with one another. We don't want to seem too neutral because then it just seems like we don't care. And this way we avoid good discussions. And it also just shows that we aren't really devoted to our team. And lastly, Malachi talked about.
One moment, if you don't mind. Just butting in there for a quick second. On the empathy subject, for my second source cited, communication researcher Jack Gibb identified empathy as one of the defining characteristics of supportive communication climates in his book. So empathy is incredibly important, and I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier, but it is incredibly important.
We got a little carried away.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Malachi also talked about certainty versus provisionalism. And he talked about how we want to avoid certainty because again, this avoids good discussions. It shows that there can only be one right answer. And we want to make sure we cultivate provisionalism because this helps us be open-minded and it encourages discussions rather than avoids them.
And on that regard, from another textbook by Beebe and Masterson from their communication textbook, the 12th edition this time from 2021, they both explained that successful small groups encourage respectful discussion and open-minded decision-making. So on the regard to certainty versus provisionalism, we should be reminded to have those open discussions where we're welcoming new ideas and not shutting down and staying in that certainty mindset where we're not going to listen to anyone.
Mm-hmm. All righty. So now that we've talked about this, I hope that you have a better understanding now of what a defensive climate looks like and what a supportive climate looks like and why we should always avoid a defensive climate. Try not to be the reason that there's a defensive atmosphere within your group. But thank you, class, for your participation. Thank you, Malachi, for all your contributions. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Dora. It's been a pleasure.